I started this project wanting to see if I could make an espresso at home that was as good as what I used to make in a coffee shop, and to see how much that would cost. Well, here it is. This is the first coffee I've sat down and properly enjoyed to now. I've either been trying to make equipment work correctly or dial the coffee in. I've also actually had a bit of a wrestle with the milk one and had to spend some time practicing with it. It is a good one, just as with all these things, it has its own little nuances to get used to. But yes, here it is. Before I tell you how much I spent, I wanted to comment on a few things because I don't know if I'll bother keeping this thing set up at home. Why would I not be keeping it at home? First, I don't think I can be bothered. I drink a coffee, maybe 2 a day. I've tried to get down because, as you can see in the previous episode, coffee can have a pretty awful effect on me. To get this thing going to a point that I'm happy with, it really doesn't seem worth it for one drink when I can make a delicious filter coffee without much hassle or, and this will become a theme, I can go to the coffee shop down the road. Second, it seems a waste. To get the coffee running right, it has to sit on for at least 20 minutes whilst it gets hot. That isn't all though. Dialing in this admittedly funky coffee from Colombia ate up 340 grams. That is, doing the math, £17 that I won't enjoy. Sure, if I had a kilo, which I do, and wasted 340 grams, the remaining 660 grams becomes a relatively reasonable £1.50 per coffee, taking account for the waste. And that is for a tricky, complex coffee made on equipment I was not used to. But, with all that, I then think about that day I had dialing in on the verge of a panic attack. Third, I don't have the space. I live in a terraced house with a pretty small kitchen that already feels cramped, hence why this thing has lived on my desk. But even here it feels in the way. Fourth, back to the theme, I'd rather go to a coffee shop and see someone. I work from home and am self-employed, so any excuse to get out is not to be sniffed at. And the people that work in those shops work hard and earn my custom. Even on the rare occasion that I go in and they seem a little bit grumpy, it's probably because they've spent all morning trying to get the shop and the coffee to a place that you'll enjoy. So, don't go out and buy an espresso machine and sell the one you have. Of course not. It's just a hobby, and it is a hobby that isn't for me. You can find all sorts of people on YouTube that will tell you how great Home Espresso is and come up with all sorts of ways to geek out about it. And for balance, if I was to go for it and get into it, this is how I would do it. It works. A sturdy espresso machine, a stepless grinder, delicious coffee and some filtered water. Don't forget the water makes up most of what you're drinking. And you're laughing. Oh wait, and some scales. I did already have these though. There are lots of things the YouTube world will tell you you need. You don't. It might appeal to something deep within you and you want it, that's fine, but you don't need it. This hobby isn't cheap, and you don't need to make it more expensive. So then, what did it all cost? Well, first of all, I got all this second hand. The grinder I was a little trigger happy with on an auctioning site, and with postage spent £340, 33 pence. The espresso machine was £300, and I did have to do a little drive to get it, which will call 20 quid. Then, as we've already said, £17 on the coffee, £1.90 on milk, and so all in, this coffee cost me £679, 23 pence. Now, I think people react differently to that number. I don't want to say much more so you can make up your own mind, but I will say I thought it was a bit more. I know of hobbies that cost a lot more, and it is an interesting thing to get into. There is a ton of things to learn about, and you could start pulling these machines apart and sticking things on and fiddle to your heart's content. But, to conclude, can I make a delicious coffee at home? Yes. And what did it cost? About £680. Would I rather go to a coffee shop? Yes. More on that next time. Please like, comment and subscribe if you're enjoying this stuff. It really helps me know if it has any value.